Hello everybody. A couple weeks ago we reviewed DMBrandon's tier list. Well, the list has been updated by DMBrandon and this is his new tier list. This right here, what you're looking at, is the official new DMBrandon tier list as is tweaked after the week 1 qualifiers with how characters performed, who didn't perform, etc. A couple of nerfs were made to a couple of characters post that as well, and so this has factored all those in. So we're going to take a look at this list and we're going to edit this and make this a bit more personal for us and see what we agree with DM and what we disagree with and who we're going to be moving around here. We're going to go through these characters individually, talk about them, why they're in their place, etc. For those who are not familiar with the list and how the list works, S plus tier is amazing. So SS is completely broken, right? S plus is like incredibly good gods. S is characters that are going to be picked a lot because they're above the point of balance, but not that much. A is your perfect point of balance. B is your below the point of balance. C and below is like you're not going to get picked at all. Okay? So moving right into this, starting at the list, at the top we have Athena in S+. I completely agree. Athena is very strong right now. She has no hard counters. She always turns up for the late game. She's amazing in the support role. You can put her in other roles. Very versatile character, very strong right now in this meta. Her taunt is one of the best crowd control abilities in the game. Very good at securing objectives, stealing objectives, setting up team fights, and a relatively short cooldown, 18 seconds, I believe, without any cooldown reduction. The next character, Shibalanke, we have up in S+. I'm going to move that down to S for my tier. So we're going to make this all nice, bada bing, bada boom. We haven't gotten there yet. So we move down Shibalanke to S. Shibalanke is very good right now, but he's not a top pick. He's not like Athena level top pick, right? Like Athena's all by herself right now in this like amazing tier. Shibalanke, very strong, very good. The problem is if Shibalanke gets shut down early, he has a very hard time coming on. He does have counter picks. Cupid counter picks him. Fenrir counter picks him. So you have to keep that in mind where Athena does not have any counter picks, and that's why she's there by herself right now. Agni at S tier, completely agree. He's one of the strongest mids right now. He thrives off of this cooldown. His bombs are up all the time. He's doing very strong. He's very hard to kill with his dash. Very good right now. Ao Kuang, on the other hand, we're going to move down to A. The reason why we're moving Ao Kuang down to A is because while he's strong, when he gets ahead, if he's just normally going along, he's not OP. Okay? If he gets ahead, great, he takes over the game, but so do a lot of characters, right? But that's not the point of balance. What we're looking at is in a normal game, in a normal setting, he's going to be just fine. He's not going to be OP. He will be doing good damage. He has the execution, good job, good stuff, whatever. He's not OP. Aphrodite, wonderful S tier. Very strong, very good counter pick for, say, Poseidon, who's very strong right now. She's doing very well. Kronos, very strong right now. He can play multiple roles. He's solid in the solo lane. He's solid at an ADC role. His mid is kind of meh, but he can be put there. Very strong. Good damage, good CC. Works well with the purple buff. Works well with the blue buff. Doom Orb being reduced in price is fantastic on him, so he stays up here. Cupid, one of our top ADCs right now, he's staying up here. A big thing for him is he does very well against Shibalanke. As far as the 1v1 goes, he does very well in that matchup until extremely late game when Shibalanke really turns on. Geb, definitely S tier. We're looking at the shield. We're looking at cooldowns. He has a couple counters. Guan Yu does well against him. Ymir does pretty good against him, but he doesn't get like so countered to where you never make it out of the laning phase, right? You're still going to make it to mid game. You're still going to do well on objectives. You still have the initiation for team fights. You're doing a great job. Hades. Hades is very strong right now, but he's not S tier. We're going to move him down to this in between A, S tier, right? So Hades is strong, and he doesn't lose any matchups. The problem with Hades is he falls off, right? So unless you get a huge advantage, which you're going to get lane control, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get kills. If you play smart against the Hades, you're not going to die to him necessarily. He'll get a little bit more gold than you, say 500, 600 gold, but that's not going to put him over the top and make him win fights. And if the game goes to that 30-minute mark, Hades falls off, your ADC turns on, and you one-shot him. Hercules, we're moving Hercules down to A tier. Hercules actually right now is at a good point. He's not that broken right now. He's strong. He's pretty good. He has situations where you can pick him, but he's not taking away the games like he used to be. We're moving Hercules down to A tier. Janus is going to stay in S tier. Janus has very good map control with his ultimate. He is very difficult to kill. He thrives off of this full cooldown build for middle. He's doing fantastic. Nemesis is going to stay in S tier. You're going to see her be banned a lot strictly because of her ultimate. Her ultimate will always be amazing if it stays what it is, right? Reducing health, reducing protections, reducing movement speed, giving her all kinds of stuff that you're taking away from. She'll always be great at killing tanks. Always, always, always. As long as there's tanks in the game, Nemesis will always be an S tier pick. Osiris, we're moving down to AS. Strong right now, can be counterpicked, does lose some matchups, doesn't turn on as early as it used to. His level 1 isn't as incredibly ridiculous as it used to be. Still very strong level 1 with the slows, with the heavy hammer, but not nearly as ridiculous as it used to be. Scylla, another character we're going to bring down to this A tier. She's going to fall off the screen, but that's all right. We can still see her. Bringing down Scylla to A. Once again, a character that if you're MLC and you're taking off, and you're hitting all of your ultimates, and you're getting reset to be like quadra kill. Like, that's awesome, but that's not going to happen every game, even for MLC, right? Scylla went ahead, fantastic. Scylla behind, still pretty good, but she has a hard time with the early game lane clear. She can get out-pushed, get out-rotated. She does have weaknesses to her character. She's actually at a good point of balance right now. Xbalanque, of course, staying in the S tier. We talked about that earlier. Thor, moving down to S. He's not quite S+ right now. He does have counters. Thanatos counters him. Nemesis does pretty well. Arachne does pretty well. There's a lot of characters that do well against him. And the whole point for me of this S+ and above tier is characters that cannot be countered no matter what. If that character has a counter, they're not at this point of being like, oh, and being worshipped, okay? But Thor, still very strong. Global ultimate, stuns, very strong passive, very strong early game damage. Translates well into the mid game, even if he doesn't necessarily get ahead. End game isn't the strongest, but he can usually carry through from that early mid game. Going into our A tier gods right here, we're looking at Arachne. Arachne is fine right now. She's perfect. Very strong, not OP. Very annoying. Probably OP in like a ranked setting, but not necessarily a competitive setting. Ares A, agreed. Very strong. Can fall very behind though. He's like a high risk, high reward, right? If you're Ares, you're either up here or you're down here. There's no in between, right? You either get fed and you're awesome, you got early game kills, or you got behind and now you're in trouble and you become an ult bot and you might get killed on your ultimate. So that's very risky. Willix, same thing. Willix gets ahead and she's amazing, and Willix gets behind and she sucks. Another character that's at a good balance point. Bakasura, disagreeing with him here, we're going to move Bakasura up to the S tier. Bakasura is a solo laner right now that has almost no counter picks. Very safe to pick early, even if somebody like Hades outpushes you, right? But you won't necessarily lose because you can heal up yourself with the minions. You still turn on very early. You carry through to the late game with your build if you build kin size and these attack speed type items to get your ultimate off. Stay very strong and relevant throughout the whole game. Very safe solo lane pick right now. Cabrakan, Cabrakan is a weird character. He could be A, but realistically, he's like at this A-B area, right? Like when he gets ahead, he does very well, but like most of the time, you're playing him in a support role and you don't get ahead and you're just going to kind of be like meh. He's meant for like a mid solo lane more right now, even though he has like a support type kit. So he's in a very weird spot. So he goes down to AB. Chuck, very good right now. Very just normal. He's not special. He does pretty good damage. He's a pretty good tank. He does pretty good everything. Not being picked a lot right now because he's just pretty good. And it's not worth to get a pretty good character, right? So you're not going to see him picked over a character like Bakasura because Bakasura is really good and Chuck's like pretty good. Fenrir, A, he has a lot of roles he can do. He's pretty good in the solo lane, pretty good support, pretty good in the jungle. Multi-purpose character, does very strong. Freya, very strong right now, not being played a lot. Pretty risky character to be played. She does get bursted really hard right now. Actually does fairly well in the ADC role because of purple buff and her early game damage with that. Does have a hard time with mana in that role, but fairly strong. Not being played at all though, so we need to get some more information on her. Guan Yu, we're going to have in this AS tier. I previously had Guan Yu ranked as S. I'm moving him down. He's not quite as strong as some of the other supports right now. The reason is being you have to counterpick with him. Guan Yu gets very, very strongly countered by Ymir, Athena, some of these other characters. And so you have to counterpick with him. And so when you have those many hard counters, I can't really put you in the S tier right now. Hebo, perfect A. Lots of damage, very squishy, high risk, high reward. Hu Yi, we're going to move down to B tier. Under no circumstances Hu Yi better than Anher or Apollo right now. There's just no reason to have Hu Yi up. Great ultimate, bad 3. 1 is unreliable. 2 is good at the end of the game, but you got to make it there first, and you're not going to make it there with these other characters. Hunmat, perfect point of balance. Good damage, cool passive, good ultimate. Everything is good about him. Isis, we're going to move up to this AS tier. Very strong when played correctly, right? Mace to the face plays a great Isis. Other people play great Isis. If you play Isis correctly, she can be in between this focal point of balance. You do have to be very careful when playing her. You have to be careful with your build. You have to pay a lot of attention, but can be very strong. Kali, A tier, one of those characters that can completely take off if you get kills, but if you fall behind, has a very hard early game, but she's very good right now. Kukulkan, same kind of thing. You hit his ultimate, hallelujah, you miss it, well, looks like we lose, right? Very high risk, high reward. Loki, another character not being picked very often right now. Better in ranked than competitive play, but he's still at a pretty good point of balance. Same thing with Mercury, same kind of thing. These assassins, very squishy, high damage burst. Not being picked so much in competitive right now, but still quite viable. Poseidon is interesting. I would normally put him in A, but because of his competitive experience right now and how well he's doing, I'm putting him in AS. He's playing extremely well in NA and EU. His cripple ultimate combo doing very well right now with Kraken. The nerf to Aegis, a big thing. You get stunned, you can't Aegis to the Kraken. If you get stunned stunned into a Kraken, right, you have to beat and then Aegis to get out of the Kraken. Very strong right now. Ra, an underrated character. I don't know why people stopped playing Ra, why they thought he was bad. He's actually been playing a lot right now, competitive, but people seem to think that like Ra dropped off. Ra heal is amazing. Ra ultimate is amazing. He still has the slow. His passive does well. He does very well against Bastet. Very strong character. Not sure why people think he's not getting played as much, so we're going to put him up in the AS tier as well. Rama, great point of balance. Can be really good. Can be kind of meh. Has good lane clear. Takes some mana. Not necessarily a ridiculous lane clear, but strong lane clear. Sun Wukong, a good overall character. He can be played in the solo decently well. He can be played in the jungle decently well. The support role decently well. He has a lot of stuff that he can bring to the table. I wouldn't pick him over Geb, Athena, Sylvanas, some of these other characters, but a pretty safe character. Thanatos is interesting. We're going to bring Thanatos up into this AS tier. We're going all over the place. Can we make you go here without? There we go. So, Thanatos very strong right now. When played correctly, when the invade goes right, when you're doing the things you need to do, you're going to be huge. A good example of this was Weekend in our second game against 5 Angry Men in the first week of qualifiers. Had 3 kills in 4 minutes, and at that point, the game is practically over, right? There's nothing you can do. Thanatos is 3 levels above you. He's going to hit you with a scythe that's going to do 70% of your health, and then he's going to kill you. A character that can snowball that hard is going to be very important right now. Tier, great pick. Can't really play him in the support role right now as much as I would like to be able to, but that doesn't mean he's not a great solo lane, decent jungler. Still a lot of CC, pretty tanky. His passive has always been fantastic with only 1 second max crowd control. Especially now that Magi's got nerfed, it's even a better passive. So, strong right there. Vamana, passive character. AFK in lane, farm up until you're level 20, pop your ultimate, kill the backline. He still does exactly what he's always done. Ymir has very strong lane presence right now. Not quite probably a S tier, but almost to that point. He has very good matchups against some of these other characters. He does pretty well against Sylvanas, pretty well against Geb. He has very strong lane matchups right now. He kind of drops off. He's not the best endgame support, but he does very strong. Ao Kuang we talked about earlier. Hercules and Scylla we talked about earlier. So some of these AS tier characters, we went through Ra, we went through Poseidon, we went through Isis. Bastet right now, 100% at S tier. 100%. I'm not honestly 100% sure what it is about Bastet right now, but her win rate is through the roof in ranked. She's doing extremely well in competitive. You can play her in the jungle. You can play her in the solo lane. I've seen her play ADC go very well. She does very strongly against ADCs right now. The penetration nerf didn't necessarily hurt her that much. Her cats are very strong. She can do the Gold Fury and Fire Giant very, very early right now because of her cats. She brings a lot to the table. She has a lot of harass. Very strong right now. Very hard to kill. Everything about her is very strong. Chang'e we're bringing down to A tier. As much as I love DMBrandon and his Chang'e cannot be an AS character until somebody plays her like that. Regardless, if people are playing her wrong, you can't put her in this tier until you see somebody play her right. She's very balanced right now, but she's not getting the play time to see exactly where she would be. So we have to put her down there. Circuit, AS tier, I agree. Very strong, hard to kill. Not as good as maybe Thor right now. Sylvanas is S tier in my head, definitely as far as supports go. He's one of the top supports. The reason being is he doesn't have that many hard counters. Ymir does pretty well against him, and that's about it, right? He has the best lane clear of any support except for Ymir. That knockback that he gets with his auto attacks is really big, especially with combined with characters like Cupid, where Cupid can't normally clear the wave, but now the Heart Bomb is in the middle of the whole group and it explodes everything. Huge synergy with other characters. Woojer right now, in this S tier, there's basically the trifecta of ADCs, Cupid, Xbalanque, Woojer. These three are being picked all the time, and it's because those three are very strong right now. Hades, boom, boom, boom. We talked about all these characters. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's get this all lined up. Look all nice and pretty. Before we move on down to our B tier characters. AB, we're looking at AMC. I agree. He's very strong if you can get into the late game, but he's very hard to get there because of the potential of ganks. Anubis, same thing. Very strong, does a lot of damage, very risky potential of ganks. Artemis, we're moving up to A tier. Artemis is getting a lot of play in EU. She's starting to get more play in NA, and it's because her endgame is incredible. Incredible. Tusky is amazing. The passive crit chance is amazing. Her steroid is amazing. Everything about her is amazing. You just got to get her there, right? If you can get her to the endgame, you're going to get hyper carried by Artemis, even more so than a Xbalanque. Incredible character right now. Neith, we're just going to bring right up to A. She's like a very good focal point of balance. Good CC. Good escape. Good clear. Good damage. Good. She reminds me of Chalk, right? You're not going to pick Chalk because he's just pretty good. And you're not really going to pick Neith because she's pretty good. But you need something. You need like, oh, I'm Xbalanque. Neith is just not going to quite do it for you. Neja, not going to get played. There's too many characters that are better than him right now. Excuse me, better than her. But just not going to get played right now. Just not strong enough. Doesn't bring enough to the table. Nox is an interesting character where I feel as though Nox is better than she is. But people aren't playing her at all, so it's hard to tell whether she's actually better than people think she is. Nuwa right now, definitely an A tier character. Nothing wrong with Nuwa. Very safe pick. Ultimate still is good. Clay minions are very strong for pushing towers, getting backdoor protections. Her mist is good at clearing the wave. Her shining metal clay minions combo stun is very good in the middle of team fights. Does a lot of damage. She's a very safe pick because you can ulti away from things. Not like a broken character, but a very strong character, very safe pick. Odin, this character kind of A, B, where he's just very awkward, right? You can play him in a couple different roles, and you kind of do good in the early game. You just have to get through that early game, right? You have to destroy the early game, and if you can destroy the early game, you can probably carry through to the end. He's a counter pick, basically. They have Afro and Ra. Pick Odin. It doesn't matter if you fall off in your damage because you're taking away their healing, which is actually a ton of damage, right? You have to factor that in. If you're taking away 2,000 healing every fight, well, that's a ton of like damage, if you will. Sobek, at a good point of balance right now. He is definitely in this A tier as well. Let's see if we can move this up here so we can get Sobek in here. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, Sobek fits just fine in this. Nothing wrong with Sobek. He's at a good point of balance. He's still strong if you get those plucks off early game, get your ADC fed. His ultimate's still pretty good. I wouldn't play him outside of the support role. I don't know about that Zelia solo lane. Sobek, I'm not about that. I don't think it's strong enough in the solo lane. You're not turning up enough at the end of the game to help out your team, but still a very strong support. Vulcan, in this weird area right now, definitely this A-B tier. He's not being played, so it's hard to tell. Zhong Kui is at a good point of balance. He can go up to this A tier. Very strong in team fight still. Nothing got taken away from him. People just aren't playing him because they forget how to play characters. Characters come into the meta and they're like, oh, we don't play him anymore. Zhong Kui does well with cooldown. He has the heal. He does very well against characters like Agni. He's actually one of the best characters, in my opinion, versus Agni. Agni bombs you, you heal up. No damage is done. Agni's bomb is down. You're good, right? Your skills come up. Your heal comes up again before his bombs come up again. Very strong against Agni. Kabrakan, Vulcan, perfect where they are. And her selects right now, Apollo, we're going to move up to this A-B tier. That's because he's a solid counter pick. He does very well against characters like Loki, ADC. He has the global presence still. He's actually getting a bit of play in NAEU. Allied played him this weekend. We did very well. He's a very okay character. You wouldn't necessarily pick him first, right? You're not like picking him over Cupid, but you're picking him into something. You're like, oh, this does well against this. Hell very weak right now. You would no reason to pick Hell over Aphrodite. Aphrodite very strong right now. Hell very meh. Kumakarna, same thing. No reason to pick Kumakarna over other supports. Zeus, Hui, both very weak. And of course, our little loner, Bacchus, not doing anything down here. That's where he deserves to be. He is probably the worst character in the game right now, and I agree. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you disagree with my list in any way, please leave a comment, and I will get around to answering it. If you agree with anything, let me know. I will put the link in the description to the original updated tier list by DMBrandon. Once again, this list was originally created by DMBrandon. This edit is our little opinion on exactly how the meta is looking right now. But I love you guys. Please subscribe if you like the videos, and have a twitching day, y'all.